welcome to Good Game, the show for gamers by gamers. I'm Barjo.
And I'm Hex.
Coming up on the show this week, the pink Blob is back in Kirby's epic yarn.
Speaking of blobs, the Blob 2 is here and we take on Comrade Black once again to restore colour to Prisma City.
We get behind the wheel of Test Drive Unlimited 2. And we try to settle some old scores in our new segment, Fanboys versus Haters.
Bound to enrage a few, I'm sure. But first, can you guess the game for this week?
And now to the news desk.
Good game.
The much-anticipated Crysis 2 has been leaked online. The game is not due for release until the end of March, but unscrupulous gamers have already had their hands on a near-completed beta version of the game. The game's publisher, Electronic Arts, have said that they are deeply disappointed by the news. Some sad news for music game fans. Activision have announced that they are discontinuing the Guitar Hero and DJ Hero franchises, as well as cancelling True Crime Hong Kong.
I just want to get along, make some money.
Downloadable content for both Guitar Hero and DJ Hero will also be discontinued. It has been confirmed that British-based Bizarre Creations, best known as the creators of Project Gotham and Geometry Wars, have been shut down permanently. The news follows on from Activision's move last November to sell the developer. However, they were unable to find any interested parties, leaving the studio's closure as the best course of action. During the 9th Annual Visual Effects Society Awards, both Bungie and Blizzard walked away winners. The award recognises achievements in special effects for film, television, animation and video games. Blizzard won the award for Outstanding Animated Character in a Video Game for StarCraft II's Sarah Kerrigan.
This is Kerrigan. We've neutralized the Protoss, but there's a wave of Zerg advancing on this position. We need immediate evac.
As well as Outstanding Visual Effects in a Video Game trailer for World of Warcraft. Bungie won the gong for Outstanding Real-Time Visual Effects in a Video Game for Halo Reach. And in more award news, after becoming the first game to ever receive a Grammy nomination, Civilization 4 has also become the first game to ever win a Grammy. The award for Best Instrumental Arrangement Accompanying Vocalists was given to Christopher Tin, the composer of the 2005 PC game's title track, Baba Yetu.
What is Kirby? We just don't know.
What we do know is that he has an insatiable appetite that's always getting him into trouble, and Kirby's epic yarn is no exception.
When the game kicks off, some weird stuff happens with a sock. And then the evil sorcerer Yin Yarn turns the world into yarn.
This grass feels funny, Kirby thought. It feels like trousers.
The world has been shattered into segments, and it's up to Kirbs to sew it all back together. Well, I think that's what happened, Hex. The intro is pretty quick, confusing, and a bit surreal.
Yeah, basically, Yarn Kirby can no longer eat everything he sees because it just passes straight through him. He can do a few simple things to thwart his enemies, yarning them, smashing down on them, or grabbing them and throwing them, which is also used to get through some of the platforming. Every now and again, he'll transform into something else, such as a tank or a dolphin. Or a spaceship. I mean, these bits were okay.
Yeah, I quite like being the dolphin, but these sections didn't really happen enough.
Yeah, and it was just a shame that other than the boss fights, a lot of these enemies just may as well have not been there because they kind of just get in your way and they're not really themed to the area. Sometimes they're just hanging around and sometimes they're even asleep.
Wake up. Kirby can't die, he's immortal. He just loses gems when he gets hit. And you use these gems to buy furniture for your house and different wallpapers and that kind of thing. I didn't really care about the gems at first, Hex, you know? Even in the levels where the screen was moving along, I just kind of left him alone and went to the bathroom and came back. I go, all right, now I'll pick it up again. He's moved forward a bit. But then something weird happened. I just needed to get every single precious gem I could find. And every time I got hit, it was like, bugger off, they're my gems. I want them, I earned them. I went and got them. And then something else happened and I just got really bored and it became a race to the end of the game and that was it for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty basic platforming, isn't it? What you're seeing right now is pretty much as difficult as the game gets, which makes us think that maybe Kirby's epic yarn is squarely aimed at younger gamers. It's a shame, you know, because this game has such a unique look to it and the music was so beautiful that it made me want to stay in this world. I love that piano score.
Yeah, it had a real 80s vibe to it, didn't it? I like the narrator. He made me feel like a kid again, but I agree with you. It's just, I think even for little kids, this may be too simple. Give him a challenge. There were only a couple of points that were confusing, but they were kind of for the wrong reasons because the game hadn't really taught you what you needed to do. It's possible I was just zoning out. I did zone out a lot in this game, but kind of a nice lobotomy kind of zoning. I think they just didn't do enough with the yarn, you know? Like, they've got this whole aesthetic of the game being about yarn, but if it wasn't for the little bits where you pull the world towards you, or if you unravel yarn off a boss, or jump in between the foreground and background, the game might as well not have been about yarn at all.
Yeah, plus there's not that much challenge for anyone who's ever jumped on a Goomba or swung from a grapple before, but I don't know, I did find it strangely hypnotic. Plus there is 2 players, so it makes it perfect for little uns to play with their parents, so I'm giving it 7.5 out of 10 rubber chickens.
I think the game is banking on its look to be enough, but it's just not hard enough, and underneath all of the really tight controls and the wonderful music and look to the game, it's just starving for a bit of inspiration, so I found it forgettable. I'm giving it 6.5 out of 10 rubber chickens. Okay, here's the bit of the show where we attempt to answer some of your perplexing gaming quandaries. What do we got this week, Hex?
Okay, well, we've got this one from, unknown in top secret, Victoria. It's a mystery. Will there be a Mass Effect 4? Because I know that Mass Effect 3 is coming out on November 8th.
Well, mystery viewer, Mass Effect has always been confirmed as a trilogy, so that makes Mass Effect 3 the last game in the series. So we'd say that Mass Effect 4 is a bit unlikely.
It's a very successful franchise though, so we wouldn't be surprised if there were some spin-off games further down the track. That's all pure speculation though, and for now we really just want to get our hands on Mass Effect 3 before we start worrying about games after that.
If Shepard doesn't bring help soon, there won't be an Earth left to save.
All right, moving on to this from Nathan in Sydney, New South Wales.
Hey guys, my PS3 is kind of wrecked. My internet connection isn't working and I've tried nearly everything, but it's still not working. Well, Nathan, we're sorry to hear that your PS3 is giving you problems, although we might actually be able to help out here.
Yeah, for the last few months, a few of us have been struggling getting our PS3s online. They used to work fine, but all of a sudden they just kept giving us this error code 8013013D whenever we tried to log in.
So if that's the error you're getting, then it's actually a really simple solution. It turns out that the PS3 can't handle wireless networks that use WPA2 security protocols anymore, even though it's one of the options in the setup and it used to work.
Yeah, so all you have to do is simply turn off WPA2 security on your network and go for one of the other security protocols. Do that and you should be able to connect without any issues.
Although, of course, you might not be getting that error and your PS3 could actually just be broken, in which case we'd say get on the phone to Sony and good luck. All right, just time for one more person. And it's a guy in the red house to the left in New South Wales. It's very ambiguous.
What will Portal 2 be rated and will you do a review? Well, Person Guy, Portal is one of our all-time favourite games, so hells yes we'll be reviewing it.
Also, the classification board has rated it as PG for mild themes, violence and coarse language. Good news there for younger gamers too.
And it's due out on April 21st. And that's it for this week, but if you have a bothersome query about gaming, send it here and we might be able to help.
Good game.
The mischievous paint-splashing Blob is back into Blob 2, and he's painting the town red, and blue, and green, and purple. Also making a sinister return is Comrade Black with his horrible war on colour. Comrade disguises himself in order to win the city's election. And once he does, he brainwashes Prisma City and sucks the life and colour out of everything. So it's up to Blob to spread paint around and once again restore colour to the land.
Aussie developer Blue Tongue have released this on multi-platform, including 3D capability, and it's coming to the DS and the 3DS, but we reviewed it on the 360 version, and it's a great looking sequel, especially in the cutscenes.
Gameplay-wise, not a lot has changed from the first game though, but it is a much bigger world, and they've added some cool 2D platforming levels to break things up a bit. Mostly though, you'll spend your time in Prism City, rolling and bouncing across platforms, through waterfalls of paint, and colouring the city as you go.
The design of the city and the various levels have an expansive, futuristic feel to them, which is nice. Although the initial puzzles aren't too challenging, they merely require you to paint the buildings the correct colours. And the buildings actually flash the colour you need to paint them as well, which makes it even easier.
Things do get trickier later on as a time limit is imposed on each level, so if you take too long on one particular section then you're going to be stuck for time for the remainder of the level. And I found this really frustrating because often if I did run out of time then I'd try and restart from the checkpoint a few times, but then I'd sort of realise that the only way for me to finish the level would be to go back and restart it from the beginning.
Yeah, especially as the levels are so big. In Prism City, the baddies are just the city's inhabitants that have been brainwashed. So you don't need to kill anything, you just slam them by hitting right trigger and restore them to their original colour, which is cool. Doing this costs you a lot of colour points though, so you'll need to be doing a bit of back and forth between the colour pools.
Your right trigger slam comes in handy also by targeting paint bots to help you mix colours or to burst through walls, hit switches or use projector pads that'll send you sprawling across the city. It's satisfying and fun to do, and I liked getting into a rhythm with it, particularly in those 2D levels. In fact, those are probably my favourite parts of the game. I also like that you can upgrade Blob's abilities now too, so you can increase his size so that he can hold more paint or increase his shield, things like that.
I like they brought the music aspect back with the sequel. Each colour has its own unique music element, so it's a jazzy musical and aesthetic composition. Using your wall run along a building as it colours and patterns everything is made even more awesome by a bit of random saxophone.
Painting is really addictive, and you do go into a bit of a frenzy trying to get every single tree for one of those environmental awards, but it can be tedious as well. I mean, there's only so much painting I can do before it starts to get a little bit repetitive. However, with each new level, there are new enemies as well, so gameplay is kept fairly fresh despite this.
The co-op part of the campaign I found a little forgettable, Hex. It's kind of that situation where the second player feels a bit duped. You're just a dot on the screen assisting with the painting. But the Blob Party multiplayer versus modes were pretty good.
Things definitely become more challenging as the game progresses, but the difficulty curve is really gradual. I know this is a game that's aimed at all ages, but the look and feel of it make me feel like it's really targeting a younger audience. I'm just not sure it has that same age-bridging appeal that other family games seem to have mastered.
I think what I like most is that you don't have to flick a Wiimote to jump anymore. My wrists ain't getting any younger, so I'm giving it 8 out of 10 rubber chickens.
Yeah, it's definitely a bigger game, isn't it? And I think if you did all those extra bits and bonus levels, then, you know, you'll be occupied in each level for quite some time. I loved the imagination of it. I'm not entirely sure who it's aimed at. I think this is a really great game for younger gamers, and based on that, I'm giving it 7.5 out of 10 rubber chickens. Blue Tongue Entertainment is based in Melbourne, Australia. The company started out in October of 1995 as Blue Tongue Software, making a transition from providing web development services to game development. One of their first games was AFL Finals Fever. Their first international release was the 1998 equestrian sim Riding Star, the ultimate horse adventure. They followed this in 2000 with a PC RTS based on Starship Troopers called Terran Ascendancy.
See anything with more than 2 legs, destroy it. Do you get me? We get you, sir!
Jurassic Park Operation Genesis was the first game to use Blue Tongue's own cross-platform game engine dubbed Toshi. Released as a Wii exclusive, the first De Blob was based on an idea by students from the Utrecht School of Arts in the Netherlands.
Don't.
2009 saw the release of Marvel Superhero Squad, before serious work could get underway on a De Blob sequel.
Good game.
We've spent a lot of our lives hanging around the internet explaining to people why our opinion is better than theirs, and we've noticed a trend emerge over that time.
Yes, it seems like for every game we say we love, some hater comes along and tells us how crap it actually is, while for every game we hate, some fanboy seems ready to leap to its defense and tell us that we just don't get it.
So with that in mind, we thought we'd try to harness the power of personal opinion for a new segment called Fanboys vs. Haters. Every few weeks we'll pick one of the biggest game franchises around and take a quick look at both sides of the coin. What is it the faithful fanboys hold dear, and what drives the haters' despair? And then we'll throw the discussion over to you for a bit of intellectual analysis.
You can then choose your preferred form of soapbox, be it video, text, audio, animation, or whatever, and submit it to us explaining why you're a fanboy or a hater.
There'll be a poll on our website, then, once the masses have had their say, we'll troll through the submissions looking for who made the best points, tally up the poll, and settle it once and for all, if the fanboys or the haters win the day. It's very scientific.
So that's the plan. It might be an epic fail if all of your responses are rubbish and we could just end up never doing this segment again, but well, let's give it a try, and we'll start with an easy one. It's one of gaming's most simultaneously loved and hated franchises, so it should work well. And you may have guessed, we're talking about Halo.
When we meet the enemy, we will rip their skulls from their spines and toss them away, laughing. Am I right, Marines?
Sir, yes, sir!
Now, these aren't our actual opinions, but for the purposes of this discussion, I'll take the role of the hater, shall I?
And I will play the fanboy. My legs are asleep. Now, the Halo series has certainly had a big impact on the gaming world over the last decade, and there's many reasons why. To begin with, while it didn't invent regenerating health, Halo certainly helped it become a common feature in almost every action game since. And nowadays, any shooter that doesn't have separate grenade and melee buttons may as well not even get released.
Well, Barjo, not everyone is such a fan of its influence. Many feel that regenerating health has noobified most games, and dedicated grenade buttons have led to a dramatic rise in incidences of grenade spam, or panic grenades as I like to call them.
But there was an undeniable brilliance to the balance and everything in Halo. Every weapon and every vehicle felt just right.
Well, I think you're forgetting how overpowered that first pistol was, or how they nerfed it and most of the guns when they put in dual wielding in Halo 2.
That pistol was awesome, and I think you're forgetting the excellent sandbox-style level design. It gave a refreshing amount of strategic freedom to fight the battles how I wanted. It's a real thinking man shooter.
Yeah, sure, some of the levels were great, but what about that library level? I mean, that's gotta be one of the worst levels in video game history. It was just the same room over and over again. Or what about the fact that the entire second half of Halo was just the same game in reverse?
Well, that's just because it was so awesome that you needed to play it through twice. But moving on, the brilliant balance naturally meant excellent multiplayer, and more than a few fanboys will regale you with stories of lugging their Xboxes over to a mate's house for some 16-player LAN action.
And meanwhile, PC gamers were playing games like Half-Life 2 with a thing called the internet, and every real gamer knows that no amount of auto-aim's stickiness can ever touch the pinpoint accuracy of a mouse and a keyboard.
But then Halo 2 launched, and it introduced the world to the concept of multiplayer matchmaking, yet another feature which has been eagerly embraced across the entire gaming universe.
Oh yes, and we all know how awesome it was when Modern Warfare 2 went matchmaking only. I mean, I think we all know Halo 2 is ultimately to blame for unleashing that curse upon the world.
Wow, hating on it while hating on other games. Now I see. Well, you hater you. I challenge you to speak ill of the epic story, and it stars one of the most iconic characters of gaming, Master Chief. Faceless, fully armored, and only interested in making the occasional one-liner.
Master Chief, defend this station.
Yes, sir. I need a weapon.
Right this way.
He's the archetype of the silent protagonist. He's made players feel as though they were the Chief, saving humanity.
Yeah, well, I'd say for most people, the epic story has become a little bit too epic. I think everyone had a bit of a WTF moment that they'd never really recovered from after they encountered the poetry-spewing zombie plant from another galaxy in Halo 2.
This one is but flesh and faith, and is the more deluded.
Well, at least it's got some character and has its own style of play. It's a test of wits and reactions. It's more about outthinking others, not just I saw you first, so you're dead, blam, I win, or I has most unlocks than you.
Yeah, but it's been a decade since the first game and it's hardly changed. I mean, other than adding armor abilities, Reach actually took the series back to playing more like Halo 1. I mean, where's the innovation there, Barjo?
Well, jetpacks.
That's not innovation. Tribes had jetpacks.
Look, if it ain't broke, don't fix it and just add jetpacks.
All right, Badge, I've been saving my best hater card for last. Halo is, you ready for this? Overrated.
I can feel the fanboy rage burning inside me. But what do you think? Now it's up to you. Jump on the soapbox of your choice and let us know. Do you think Halo is one of the best series ever, or is it totally overrated? It's fanboys versus haters. Fight!
Good game.
The original Test Drive Unlimited recreated all the roads of the Hawaiian island of Oahu, and it let us explore and race around in an always online world with only the oceans to hold us back.
And they called it a Moor, or a massively online open racer, and it was pretty good. I mean, there was definitely room for improvement. The handling was a bit dodgy and it all just felt a bit aimless, but now the sequel is here, so have they fixed it all up, or is it more of the same?
You begin the game by living it up on the infamous island of Ibiza. There's a party going on where you get to choose your character from the crowd, but it's a choice between douchebag and douchier douchebag. Once that's out of the way though, you'll find it's actually your birthday and your awesome friends have bought you a Ferrari. Sick one.
But of course, no one has friends that buys them Ferraris as birthday presents, and you soon find out it was all a dream and you have no friends and no car.
Wake up!
And you're still a douchebag.
But it's the valet's fault. It took him forever to bring my car.
Once you get through the elaborate intro, you'll finally get to do some driving, and you're free to explore the world at your own pace. Things are more focused this time around though, so pretty soon you'll find yourself getting stuck into the main meat of the single-player campaign, which are the championship cups.
Each cup has a decent mix of events. There's your standard races, time attacks, and eliminator events, and a few others like Speed Trap, where you need to set the highest average speed.
A few more event types would have been nice, I think, Hex, but I didn't mind too much because it's a big world to explore. The world here is so huge. The original island of Oahu is back, along with Ibiza, both accurately recreated to a 1-to-1 scale, giving something ridiculous like 3,000 kilometers of road to drive on. It's a great feeling to look out, knowing everywhere you can see can be driven to. It means you never race on the same track twice, and the off-road events play like a different game altogether.
And thankfully it's not a chore to get around either. The map is easy to use and it's got a Fallout-like fast travel system, so it is actually easy to get around. Anywhere you've been before can be fast traveled to, and the map colours in every road you've been on, so it's easy to see where is yet to be explored.
There's a thing called the Free Ride Instant Money System, or FRIM, and it's a clever way of making the driving around a bit more fun. If you so much as scratch your car, you'll lose all the money you've accumulated, but you can bank it at any time, so you're constantly betting against yourself to take more risk. It's that good old risk and reward system in action, Hex.
Like the original game, you can set challenges for other people to try and beat, or you can just try and beat other people's. There's multiplayer games you can set up or join, or you can just flash your lights at another player to start an instant challenge. You can get into online and offline cop chases, there's collectible car wrecks and photo spots to find. I mean, it's a bit of a completist nightmare, or is that dream? I'm never really sure on that one.
One and the same, I think. To be honest though, Hex, I just had fun driving really, really fast. And when I finally got that Veyron, those other scrubs didn't stand a chance.
Coming right back at you. Negro Capitan, gets it hotter than the weather in Mazatlan, where there's nothing, Argos, Mafian.
Thing at the back that moves.
What's the thing at the back that moves?
Spoiler.
Right.
It's like, my car's transforming!
Yeah, it's that great sense of speed though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Getting the Veyron to top speed feels like you're about to go into warp, and it's great that the world is so huge that it's actually possible to do that in lots of places. It usually does end in a huge crash though.
It's a shame the crashes didn't look better. You can get some ridiculous air in this game, but to have it all stopped by a tree is a bit of an anticlimax. I guess we were spoiled a bit last year with Hot Pursuit. Those crashes were spectacular. The cops here are a bit crap. For starters, it's really hard trying to get into a pursuit. And then when you do, you just get spammed by AI cops. And if you're on a highway, you're not going to get very far. If there's another player nearby though, they can take up that pursuit and then it becomes a one-on-one race, but they're quite easy to get out of.
Yeah, that felt like it needed better balancing. Like the original, this is going for simulation handling, and it definitely felt a lot better this time. I mean, it's no Forza or Gran Turismo, and I think they've removed motorbikes altogether just because they couldn't find a way to make them fun. And small adjustments especially feel a bit too twitchy, but otherwise all the cars just handle like you'd expect them to.
I found it baffling that they don't let you choose which assists you want to turn on and off. They just give you 3 options: hardcore, sport, or full assistance. But it's quite hard to know what each of these mean because it doesn't tell you, so you're just kind of guessing, and that's half the fun for me, Hex, tweaking all those little assists and getting it just how I like it.
And while whinging, tuning cars is just way too basic. I mean, you can buy upgrade packs for braking, acceleration, and speed. I mean, being able to make these individual adjustments would have made it much more realistic and more fun.
Driving is what you'll be doing most of the time, but underneath all that, this game is about becoming the richest douchebag in the land. Each car takes up a space in one of your garages, which means you'll need to buy new houses with bigger garages to fit them all in. You're always on a quest to own more houses, cars, and nicer clothes. It's got a bit of a Sims vibe to it, but heck, I just can't get past the fact that no matter what you customize on your character, you can't stop yourself from looking like a giant tool.
Perfect. It fits you well.
I don't know, Badge. I think he looks alright. He kind of looks a bit like you.
Anyway, you can walk around in parts of the world now, which means you can get up nice and close to the cars. Windows go down, windows go up. And since they take up physical space, you do feel like these cars are your own, rather than just a car in a list.
The outside areas do look a bit bland and pop up, but even so, I still wanted to be able to get out of my car whenever I wanted. It's just something about having that freedom, I think.
The engine sounds are some of the best I've heard in a racing game. Every car has its own distinct growl, and some of them are just... whoa.
I thought the music was a bit lacking though. I mean, there's only 2 radio stations. But I don't know, my advice is if you've got a few favourite driving songs, then to just get those cranking instead.
I think there's a lot here for car nuts. Many of these cars are dream list, and they'll be able to drive them around endlessly in this big open world. I still think they need to work on their handling, but I had a good time just running down strangers and smashing my vehicle into them, so I'm giving it 8 out of 10 rubber chickens.
I think the allure of collecting cars and all of that is a little bit lost on me, but still there's so much here for car lovers, so I'm giving it 7.5 out of 10 rubber chickens. You love ramming other people.
Right in the face.
Just can't stop ramming them.
So, did you guess the game for this week?
Some of you may have put 2 and 2 together and realised that it was the very first test drive, released all the way back in 1987 for PC and Mac. It only had 5 cars and 5 tracks. Interesting fact, one of the 6 developers who worked on it was Don Matrick, who is now president of Microsoft's entertainment division, the guy in charge of everything gaming at Microsoft.
Fun fact. Well, that's what we've got time for this week, but Good Game will return same time next week with a review of Killzone 3, and we see if the Move and 3D have made it a better game.
Plus Tim Schafer's new game, it's a puzzler involving Russian dolls called Stacking.
And we get creatively violent with Bulletstorm.
If you have some younger gamers in your life, you can let them know that in Spawn Point over on ABC3 on the weekend, we'll be looking at some free-to-play MMOs. For some kids, this is the first game they'll ever play, and some of them are actually quite good.
Yeah, and some are woeful, but we've taken one for the team to make sure the young'uns only play the good ones.
Remember that if you're a Halo hater or a Master Chief fanboy, you can head over to the website to find out how you can join in the debate, and it shall be decided once and for all.
Yes, so until then, gamers, make sure all your power swords are fully charged.
And may your days be free of bunny hopping teabaggers. Hex out.
Yeah, Bajo out.